Months, demonstrators have been calling for reform. They want the removal of the Prime Minister, Prayut Chan-o-cha. He is a former army general who came to power in a coup in 2014 and won a disputed election last year. They also want Parliament dissolved and new elections, and they're demanding the constitution drafted by the military be rewritten. Also included in their charter is an end to the intimidation of dissidents. And then there's a very sensitive demand that has long been unthinkable in Thailand, reform of the monarchy. The king is widely revered, and criticising him can carry prison sentences of up to 15 years. Let's bring in our guest, Pavan Chachavalpongpun. He's an associate professor at the University of Kyoto in Japan. Many thanks for speaking to us on Al Jazeera. Just as we heard there, Thai citizens are expected to revere the monarchy without question, and criticising the king is punishable by very, very strict laws, and Thai people have largely abided by this. So what's changed now to make them want to openly challenge this powerful institution?
Well, the notion that, all Thais sort of revere their monarchy, that has been sort of obsolete. And because of the recent development in Thailand, that sort of allowed the people to change their perception. One of the main things is when they look up to their current monarch, King Vajiralongkorn, they felt that the king is not responsible. The king has left people unattended, during the crisis of COVID-19 and other political crises. Then the king still enjoying his time in Germany now become an issue with the German government. And because of that, I think for the protester, it's now time to talk about a serious reform of the monarchy.
So what happens now? Where do things stand for the protesters? Because the key student leaders involved have been arrested. We now have this law, this decree that prevents big groups from gathering. What happens next?
Well, what happened yesterday was something quite new as well, in a sense that this was the first time the protester came almost face to face with the issue of the monarchy itself, meaning that, it happened that during the protests, there was a royal motorcade that sort of allowed the people to get so close to the queen who was in the car. And then there was some messages, being shouted at the queen. And that sort of provoked, the state and also the palace. And I believe that led to the arrest and the crackdown at dawn this morning. I don't know what's going to happen next, but the event yesterday, I think the government had to really think carefully what they're going to do with the protester. I think for the protester, there would be nothing less than continue with the reform with the monarchy.
There is clearly very, very strong feeling here from the youth in Bangkok, in Thailand as a whole. Do you think it's enough, this feeling, this drive, to continue unrest, whether it be in the form of protests or something else in the future?
That would be a challenge. As we know that this issue is highly sensitive in Thailand. People who come out on the street, they know that they are at risk of being arrested. And not only that, they could be charged with less majesty. But I think every time, just when you think that this would scare people off, a series of protests from July until today, you could see more and more people coming out. That seems to suggest that maybe a lot of people in Thailand, they realize that unless they come out on the street, they would not see the change in Thai politics.
Pavan, give us a better sense of where some of this frustration is coming from. They've talked about, wanting changes to the monarchy, but also wanting the Prime Minister to step down, who only just recently took power. What are their issues with the current leadership?
Well, I guess that at the beginning, they started off with wanting to remove the current prime minister from power. But then I think they realized that even removing the prime minister, General Prayut Chan-o-cha, would not resolve, the long health crisis in Thailand. Because on top of this, deep-rooted problems is the monarchy. So that's why I think the protester has moved on now from sort of attacking the prime minister, if you want to say so, to becoming criticizing the monarchy, wanting a reform of the monarchy. So, but it doesn't mean that they would no longer want to talk about the issue with the legitimacy of the government. Of course, they still want to, but I think they want to tackle something bigger, more serious than just the ineffectiveness of the government. And you have to understand that the people on the street today, the younger generation, they sort of managed to escape long years of propaganda for the monarchy. So I guess that's why they become more courageous than previous protesters.
Briefly tell us a bit more about the current king. He's only been in power for a few years and he doesn't have the same people don't have the same feeling towards him, perhaps, as they did to the previous king.
Yes, true. Well, what I think what you're about to say is he lacked moral authority. I would have thought that would make him a weak king, but I think we are all wrong. It has been a few years now that he demonstrated his power and also his attempt to consolidate his power, and he had done so many things. From building up working relationship with the military, having his own private troop, also transfer, all the assets under the Crown Property Bureau under his own possession. So we are talking about a king who not just only politically powerful but also financially powerful as well. You could also say that he is the first king, who have the most formal power since 1932, since the abolition of, absolute monarchy. So because of that, it makes him more powerful. That what makes him very different from the previous king. And the last point is that whereas his father exercised his power through proxies, the current king, stand at the forefront of the Thai politics, playing politics by himself.
Pavin, very, very interesting to hear your thoughts. Pavin Chachavalpongpang, Associate Professor at the University of Kyoto in Japan. Yemen's Houthis have released